Welcome to DC to B Revolution, helping chiropractic students think big in order to live large. I'm your host, Volz, and today I'm here with Dr. Thaddeus Gala. He is a nationally acclaimed author, speaker, researcher. He has several prestigious recognitions and awards, and he's also the CEO and founder of 3 integrative medical clinics, where he has maintained profitability while increasing the size of the company from 2 employees to 70 employees in 6 years via a successful acquisition and aggressive growth plan. So, Dr. Gala, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad this worked out. This is gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So I'd really like you to kind of walk us through your origin story, so to speak. Like, you came out of Palmer, you started, work, and then what was the ramp up? What were the data-driven decisions that you took to actually move yourself all the way to where you are now with 70 employees and 3 clinics?
Sure. Yeah, that's a excuse me here. Excuse me. I've been doing a lot more running lately, and some of the morning cold air has been getting in my throat. So, yeah, great question. I would say that the biggest thing is I've always been driven to do more and to try to do more, be better, improve, etc. So when I got out of school, I was going to be buying the kind of our family chiropractor's office that I grew up with, and that helped my mom some regain some of her health. And when I went in there to work, that was around 2008, when kind of the underlying tone and conversation, actually more overt tone, was that I was going to be buying this clinic. And it was just him and I. I was an associate there, or not really an associate, more of an independent contractor. And it was literally just he and I, meaning that we would, we'd wash the windows, we'd vacuum, we'd return patient calls, we'd schedule them, we'd book them, we'd fill out the HICPAs, we bill insurance companies, the whole bit, everything. It was literally just he and I. And I just feel like, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I felt I was burning myself out. And then around 2008, housing market crisis came through. Some of his retirements weren't panning out the way he wanted them. So he said, I don't think I can sell. And I just knew that I wanted something different and more. So that's when I went out and around 2008, 2009, bought a piece of property and built a clinic from the ground up, and that started on the journey. So I've just always been, there's got to be something new out there. There's more, there's bigger, there's better that I want to do. I want to accomplish, have a bigger impact in the world, and so I guess I just couldn't help it.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm, surrounded by students at school who kind of have that same passion, that same drive. But then when the going gets tough, not everybody makes it through and actually achieves the vision or achieves the goal. So what was it for you? You had the vision, you found the piece of property. What do you feel like kind of pushed you through the challenges that are inevitably going to come up?
Not wanting to lose.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be there. Like, you have to want to win. And there were times where I remember, so here I was, my girlfriend at the time, at that time I had a girlfriend that started working with us. And so basically it was she and I that opened up this new clinic. And there was times I remember that when we were in the middle of building the clinic, and it was tough because I would work, I would see patients, and then I would take a long lunch, drive, the 10, 15 minutes down to where the clinic was, and do a walkthrough with the contractor, make sure things were coming up okay, and then I'd drive back and see patients. And there's times where the stress of that, of spending all this money, so here I was working in the business that I really didn't have control over, trying to do the best that I could to generate income, and then here we were trying to build this clinic, and no matter how much you think you spend, there's always more expenses that come out when you're doing an adventure like that. And there was times where I legitimately had the conversation of, gosh, would this make better sense just to walk away from everything and just go to Mexico and just say, you know what, we're going to have a whole different life. Maybe this isn't what planned. And because that's the thing, it's in those times where you really find out if you have what it takes. And if you're not, I'm not saying that you have to live life dangerously and push yourself to the edge, but you're going to have if you're trying to do big things, everyone that, I've shared the stage with Tim Ferriss, Peter Diamandis, um, you know, Damon John, from the Shark Tank. So I've spoken on similar stages with these people. And any one of these guys that are successful, they all have a time and a moment where it was tough and it was hard and they pushed through it. And I think that's the thing is when you hit that wall, do you push through it or do you stop? And I use the example, it's like a diving board. If you go to that first high dive, most people, they get to the edge and they think, oh, I don't think I should do this. And they balk and they climb back down, metaphorically speaking. But here's the thing. If you can get yourself to jump off and make that jump and you land, maybe you do land a little bit off, maybe you do hurt your back or you do a little bit of a belly flop, but you do that, and in that action, you develop a certain level of confidence and clarity and new skills, and that then allows you to then say, you know what, I think I can go to that next rung. Because once you go from that high dive, and once you do that first jump, and it turns out, you now have that. You not only have that in your tool belt saying, hey, I did this, but you're never then going to go back down to the lower rung. You have that level of confidence. And then when you go to that next level, the next high dive, and you go off of that one, now you've just scaled to there. And the thing is that you keep pushing that. You don't push your stress level to the point of where, and let me back up, I'm not saying you have to have stress. There's a lot of people that do this without stress. I mean, even Warren Buffett, though, he's had his moments where things almost crushed and collapsed. So he's had his fair share of stress. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, he's had borderline mental breakdowns. I mean, so I'm not saying that to do this there's a stress-free way to do it. Some people are, but that's very unique people. But it's your ability to handle stress. So when you're at the edge there and you're pushing yourself, it's looking at the standpoint of, do you feel the fear and do it anyways, or do you feel the fear and back off? And it's fear and excitement are the same chemical hormones in your body, or the same chemicals that are being released in your body, fear and excitement. The only difference is how you choose to view it. So if you're at that high dive and you look forward and you're fearful, that's also why it's exhilarating, because that's the rush. So, and that's another thing, is to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, are you doing it just for the rush and because there's other things in your life that maybe are lacking, or are you doing it because you genuinely want what's on the other side of that? So you have to be asking yourself why you're doing something, making sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, and that when things get tough, that you're able to push through it. Because once you push through it, you have the newfound confidence, clarity, and capabilities to then go to the next level. And I use the example, it's like myself, I've done a lot of running. I've done, when I was in chiropractic school, I did an Ironman, and I put in my time. I put in, maybe not thousands, but I don't know, maybe if you add up all my life, I did track in high school, college, I did the decathlon, in chiropractic school, I did an Ironman. So I put in lots of miles on the road. I've pounded the pavement a lot, and I stopped running for about a year and a half. And my buddy said, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" Or I said to my buddy, I said, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" He said, "Oh, I'm going to go run a marathon." I said, "Hey, well, can I come with you?" He looked at me, he said, "Have you done any training?" I'm like, "I haven't ran in probably a year and a half." And he's like, "Are you crazy?" And not only this, but the marathon was a trail run with about a 5,000-foot elevation gain. And I went out and I kept pace with them the whole time. And I hadn't ran in about a year and a half, and I ran a marathon through the woods, and he was blown away. And he was laughing and borderline frustrated and angry that I was able to do it. But the thing was, it's because I had laid so much foundational work that I could draw from. Now, if I hadn't have done all that, obviously there's no way I would have done it. But what I'm getting at is, when people go through school, most people get out of school and they stop learning, but that's just the next level. So most people, right, they go like this through their career, right? They go through, through high school, through college, chiropractic school, and then they get out of school and they go like this. And they just have the white picket fence and the 9 to 5. But really, right there, that's where you're just hitting the knee of your curve, and the exponential starts to kick in. So, like Warren Buffett said, he's like, "Gosh, if I could do anything different, I would give everything that I have, all of his billions of dollars, to be 21, but to know what he knows." Because the exponential compounding effect of wisdom and skill sets and getting to that higher rung of that diving board, No one can take that away from you. And once you overcome an obstacle, you have that in your toolkit that you always have with you to draw from as a resource. So it's always, school's never out for the pro. And you have to be able to push through and work through those angst. And once you do that, you'll realize that you have those newfound skill sets that you just continue to operate at a whole nother level. And the higher you get and the more you operate that level, your brain realizes that there's then another level. And all of a sudden you're playing and you're operating at this higher. I don't know about you, but my screen froze. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah, yes. So I want to dig into more of those skill sets, but I just kind of want to recap because you laid down so much important knowledge. Just if you feel fear, that's the opportunity. Building that muscle to feel the fear and do it anyway. Something that you said that I think is so vital. And then also, these are my own words, but if you do the homework, the test is easy. Like if you put in the preparation, if you put in the hours, then you can run a marathon a year and a half later because you've already done a lot of that groundwork. And then, really these skill sets, like it's all of these little micro skills that you're developing and you keep getting better at them and you keep getting better at them. And you're trying to get at the top of your game at all of these different micro skills. And as soon as you stop doing that, then you're basically, going to become a dinosaur and not going to do anything with your life.
One thing I would say, I like that statement. I've heard that before and I agree with it. And that is, if you do the homework, the test is easy. I would agree with that with one little tweak. And I would say, if you do the homework, the test is easier. Because no matter how well you do, even people like Elon Musk, look at some of these other people, Olympic athletes, they do the homework. That doesn't mean that they're going to go home with the gold. It just means that it's easier and that they can compete at that level. And Blockbuster went under. Toys R Us is now going under. A lot of other mom and pop stores are going under. What is it? 94% of businesses fail within 10 years. So it gets easier. But here's the thing: you're right, feeling the fear and going through anyways. But you want to look at that bell curve, right? So on the one end of the bell curve, you have boredom. And you have people that are so bored, they don't know what to do. And then you have where the curve starts going, where you start to have a little bit of stimulus, people are paying attention. Then you have where most people resonate, and that's in the comfort zone. But if that stress level keeps going up, if you right at the top of that curve, you have where it's stress, and that stress is where people grow, right? So stress is where we grow. When you work out, you're stressing your system, where you grow. If you're new skills as a business owner or a student or whatever it is, you're stressing yourself, and that's where you grow. But if you go too far, if that stress level gets too high, then you become immobile and incapacitated. So the thing is that you want to find your bell curve of where your comfort zone is and move it just enough to where you're alert, but you're not incapacitated. So and that's where you develop these skill sets, and that's what moves the whole bell curve for your ability over a bit. So, and that's like anything. Think of a race car driver. If you or I were to get into a Formula One racing car and go into a race, like we would be so overwhelmed that we would probably be paralyzed and our function would stop. But if we started off driving just really fast and we moved up to, our whole bell curve will move to the point to where eventually what used to be stressful for like some of these guys, these high elite performers, and this is for anybody, any skill set, what used to be overwhelmed and incapacitating is now an unconscious competence that then allows them to then get to that next level.
Yeah, completely.
So it's moving that bell curve, and it's not stressing yourself so far out that you're having a mental breakdown every day, because that's not healthy. But it's finding where that comfort zone is and then pushing that stress level just a little bit. Because if you don't want to be average, you can't act average.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the perfect advice for students to really do that self-reflection, figure out where they are, figure out where their growing edges are, figure out how they can push against that comfort zone. So in terms of kind of the more granular skill sets that chiropractic students want to develop in order to be successful entrepreneurs and business owners and own their own clinics, what tools and tactics would you recommend for students to pursue at this point?
Great question. I would say don't hang out with chiropractors. hang out with successful business owners, because chiropractic school does not teach you how to be a good business owner. It teaches you how to be a good chiropractor, and that's important. But the problem is when you get out of school, if you keep going to chiropractic seminars, it's just more of the same Kool-Aid, and you have to drink different Kool-Aid from different bowls. And so what I mean by that is some of my biggest growths were joining things like Strategic Coach in Toronto with Dan Sullivan, not Dan Sullivan the chiropractor, but Dan Sullivan the business coach. He's in his 70s, and he's coached more entrepreneurs than anyone I think on the planet. So it's joining those types of groups. I joined Genius Network with Joe Polish. I mean, and to join this group, it's $25,000 a year. So you have to be willing to write the check. But think about who else is willing to write 25 grand to be part of a mastermind group. So think about the other people in the room, and that's how I ended up sharing the stage with people like Tim Ferriss, Damon John, Peter Diamandis, etc. And that's how I have now relationships with those people on varying degrees, is because I was willing to write the check and I was willing to go outside of my circle. I'm not saying that going to chiropractic seminars doesn't have its place, but what I'm saying is that you need new playmates and new playgrounds, and you need to look at, success leaves clues. So you follow what other people are doing that are successful in business, not just chiropractic. And I think that's one of the biggest things is getting outside of your own comfort zone and developing that skill set. And the biggest thing is relationships. Hands down is relationships. Relationship capital will trump financial capital every time. So always be seeing, how can you improve a relationship? How can you be built providing value? And if you go into every relationship saying, how can I provide ultimate value for this person? That life gives to the givers and takes from the takers. So you go through life, how can I give, and provide value? And then always be thinking about what's in it for this person and how can I make it even better for this person. So when I call, they're excited to answer the phone. I mean, really, that's if you live your life that way, thinking, I want to provide so much value to this person that if I ever need something from them, if life ever throws a curveball and I need something, that I can call and they're excited to see that and say, okay, how do we problem solve this? How do we work together? And most people have that with their family, right? If you needed something, you said, I know for me, if I called my brother and said, man, I really need some help this weekend, can you drop what you're doing and be there? He would be there for me as I would for him. So that's the power of relationships, of really building those relationships. And one of my colleagues, he uses the term always blooming flowers. So you're always nurturing and you're always blooming flowers, and you're always working on relationships, not for the sake of being manipulative or just to create relationships, but to genuinely provide value to the world. And even on that, something that you mentioned earlier, which I think is important when you said self-awareness, and that is people really need to reflect and say, what do I really want to do? I mean, just because Gary Vaynerchuk is Gary Vaynerchuk doesn't mean that everyone needs to be Gary Vaynerchuk, or everyone doesn't have to be Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Warren Buffett or Larry Page or Bill Gates, like you or Tony Robbins. You don't have to be these people or aspire to be like them unless you really want to. So it's important to do a gut check and really say, where do I really want to be? Because really, I think only like 1 in 20 people really have the stomach for entrepreneurialism, versus they're more, the average person is more security based versus opportunity based. And I think doing a real strong gut check with that, and ask yourself, do I really want to go to those higher diving boards, or am I okay just going to just jumping in the pool and just kind of playing around? And there's no right or wrong answer. So if you want a 9 to 5 and a white picket fence, that's fine. But really being working on self-awareness and finding out why you're doing what you're doing and being honest with yourself, not just because you're doing it because of the glamour or you want the fame or you want the big house or the nice car or whatever it is, but really ask yourself, why are you doing this? And for me, I believe that, I don't know if you can see it here, but I'll show you. I haven't hung it up yet, but in the corner of my office there, I have black and white photos I still have to hang. One is of Gandhi, one's of Mother Teresa, and the other is of Martin Luther King. And for me, I look at it from the standpoint of, I believe that I was born with a certain level of gifts and skills that I don't believe everyone has. I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone. I just say I'm different. And I have a certain skill set that I really believe that those that have more, I believe, can do more. Not that they should, because I don't believe anyone's obligated to do anything, but I believe that people that have more, they can do more. And for me, that's my way of feeling good at the end of the day, is knowing that I'm working on making the world a better place because I was in it, not worse off because I was in it, because I know that times in my life when I was in pain by either hunger or thirst or physical or mental or emotional. So when I say pain, I mean basically any type of human suffering, that whenever I've had suffering in my life, having somebody there was the most powerful, impactful thing for me that was helpful. And if I can provide a relief or support of someone's pain in a healthy way, then and we can do that and help more people get rid of pain, then to me, I feel really good. Now that makes me feel good and happy and gives me purpose. And I was listening to an interview from my friend Dave Asprey and Dr. Oz last night, and that's what Dr. Oz was saying. You know, and if you want, you can go check it out. It's on Bulletproof Radio. I think it was one of the last interviews you just did. And he said, yeah, you need to have purpose. And if you don't have purpose, what's the part of getting up? And that purpose could be your kids, it could be work, it could be wanting to open 30,000 clinics, you know, whatever it is. But Tony Robbins, he helps people get rid of pain. Oprah helps people feel good and gets rid of pain. You know, Chestnut, you know, he helps people get rid of pain. All these people are helping to improve people's lives. And if you approach it from, like Mother Teresa, how can I give? How can I save? How can I help the person that's in front of me, and do that at scale and masses? To me, that's a life full of purpose, and to me, that's what I look forward to. That's why I'm willing to pay the price of the stress and the long hours and everything that comes with it to get to that. Because, gosh, I just love it when I hear people say my life is so much better, or it's been transformed, or like when I read our Google reviews or our patient testimonials or these things that people post. To me, that's amazing. Because when I was young, I didn't have a mom. I mean, I have pictures of me with a crowbar tearing out the kitchen when I was 10 years old to get ready for my mom's wheelchair. And traditional medicine, she went to 5 different doctors, and they all couldn't help her. And they all said, sorry, whatever you have, it's progressive, have a nice life. So since then, I've dedicated my life to helping people reduce pain. And now my mom is 70 years old. She runs 5K races. She wins them in her age group. She's on 0 medications. The doctor told her she'd be in a wheelchair the rest of her life. So be able to replicate that with now tens of thousands of people we've helped with our online programs, our brick and mortar clinics, etc. You know, is why I get up in the morning and helps keep me motivated.
Yeah, and I know a lot of students are going to resonate with that, and they're going to want to do more. They're going to want to help more people get out of pain. They're going to want to serve more. So in terms of a call to action for students, where can they go? Where can they learn more? You know, what's the best way for them to keep growing and this kind of opportunity mindset?
Yeah, well, if you want to stay plugged into what we're doing, you could. I mean, I bet probably one of the best ways would be to either send me a friend request on Facebook. I think I'm maxed out now, but you can go to my Dr. Thaddeus Gala Facebook page. You can like that page and follow it because I talk about health, but I also talk about other things on there. So just if you want to stay plugged into the things I'm doing, that'd be a good way to do it. So go to my Facebook page, follow it there, as well as I'd say obviously you can go to our website and connect to our newsletter. But I would say surround yourself with people that of where you want to go and be following them and realize that relationships, relationship capital trumps financial capital every single time. The other thing I would say is on self-awareness. Go and have a Kolbe test done called KOLBE. So KOLBE.com, Kolbe test, and take that test and don't lose sight of it and look at it and really understand what it means. I've never had a Kolbe test fail us with a team member. And for me, it's one of the first times in my life that I realized it was okay for me to be okay. And it was okay for me to kind of shelve my weaknesses and not put energy in my weaknesses and instead focus on my unique ability and really go all in on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Thaddeus, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks for having me. Hopefully this was helpful. If people have questions, certainly they can reach out and via Facebook or message, and I'm happy to try to help however I can.
Yeah, I feel like you really walk your talk, like you said, you always provide value. Every time you show up on my messenger feed, I'm always happy to see what you have to say. So, really appreciate you walking your talk that way.
All right, well, great. Well, not everyone likes to see my messenger feed because I sometimes I throw some controversial stuff up there, but I like the thought exercises.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. I think it's important for us all to think more, and that critical mind is really important. So thank you.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, and keep up the good work and keep up the good fight.
Yes, I will. I will. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So this has been a production of DC2B Revolution, helping chiropractic students think big in order to live large. If you like this video, please let me know. Subscribe to the channel. Leave some comments in the comments section below. It's always great to hear from people and to help move the channel forward. So until next time, thanks for tuning in.